Hey everybody, I know you like having Mitzi in the videos, and she's going to have to stay in this video because she can't stop jumping on the camera. Anyway, I wanted to address one of the simpler arguments that arises in the states' rights discussion that has come up ever since the demise of Roe v. Wade. And the statement is people saying, well, if you don't like the abortion laws in your current state, you can always just move to another state. So and move meaning relocate yourself to another state. Well, aside from the obvious that very few people's lives are that simple, I want to talk about the context in which that aspect of our society, our country, was established. So there is a line of reasoning which I don't like, which goes that the founders, when they established the Second Amendment, were only referring to muskets and other muzzle-loading firearms. And so, consequently, the argument is then made that the federal government ought to be able to regulate the sale of, the weapons that are causing all kinds of chaos and destruction, like the AR-15 and the AK-47 and all of that. And I don't like that line of reasoning, not because I'm all crazy about assault rifles, I'm really not. But what I don't like about it is that if you were to establish a precedent saying that laws and liberties only apply at the technological level that was available at the time that they were written, then what would then happen is you could have the Jesse Helmses of the world swooping in and saying, well, now we can censor photography and video and movies and the internet and video games and television and all of this, because when the founding fathers established the First Amendment, they were talking about the technological level of a machine pressing ink onto a page, or a hand writing ink onto a page, and that was the extent of what they were referring to when they talked about the freedom of the press. So that's a very flawed line of reasoning. However, in the current climate, when we're talking about the historical context within in terms of how this country was set up, it becomes very practical, because yes, the founding fathers did set it up so that you could travel from one state you could relocate from one state to another if you were unsatisfied with the laws of the state you were living in. Okay, here is what that consisted of for most people at the time. You and your entire family put all of your earthly possessions onto a single canvas-covered wagon, which is then pulled by oxen or horses into another state. You were talking about, and as far as the job employment situation, you were talking about people who are an agrarian society where people would leave one farmland that they were working on, travel to another farmland, show up there, and just start working. It was a very different, far more simple, practical time. Now, granted, yes, it is now in the modern age easier to physically relocate yourself from one state to another. It is a far, far different matter in terms of restructuring your life. They did not have at the time situations like, for example, what we now have in Flint, Michigan, where because of the water situation in Flint, Michigan, nobody wants to move there. Therefore, nobody wants to buy the houses that are already in Flint, Michigan. So the people who own those houses are stuck because nobody wants to buy them. Those people, for example, cannot just pack up and move to another state. They are stuck where they are because of a tremendous amount of bureaucratic nonsense and other issues that have complicated their leaving. So no, it is not practical for us to just pack up and move to other states if we don't like it. Also, as I said in my previous commentary on this matter, it should be readily obvious to everybody that the next thing that's going to happen is that the anti-abortion loonies are going to try to pass a law that takes this nationwide. They are not going to be satisfied, or they are going to campaign relentlessly in all of the states until it's eventually shut down. until it's eventually shut down state by state by state. They are not going to let this go, and you are a damn fool if you think that they will. The last thing to remember is that with the demise of Roe v. Wade, our rights to relocate from one state to another are actually being truncated. One of the concepts that was enshrined in Roe v. Wade, that was used to justify Roe v. Wade, was that we have the right to travel wherever we want to. That actually is inviolable. That is now violable. And, you know, if you look at, for example, the legislation a few years ago when Brian Kemp tried to establish anti-abortion legislation here in Georgia, one of the flagrantly unconstitutional things that he tried to do with it was establish checkpoints in and out of the state that would check for pregnant women and verify that they were still pregnant when they returned to the state, so as to ensure that nobody was leaving the state to go get abortions elsewhere. That is the reality, and that is absolutely Orwellian. I mean, you literally are getting into things that happened in The Handmaid's Tale. I've not watched the show; I've only read the book. But you're getting into stuff that happened in The Handmaid's Tale at that point. So, no, they are in revoking this law. I mean, in revoking Roe v. Wade, they are rapidly and actively diminishing and attacking the underlying rights which would allow us to move to other states. And so, you know, again, you are very naive if you think they're going to make it so easy as just go to another state and get an abortion. You cannot underestimate you cannot ever underestimate the degree to which the pro-life movement is willing to impose the most draconian, imperial, suffocating, Orwellian oppression to accomplish this goal. Remember, there is nothing you can tell these people that will make abortion acceptable, and because of that, there is nothing you can tell these people that will tell them that their methods for enforcing their worldview have gone too far. So no, the idea that we can just pack up and move to another state is not acceptable, and it's not going to be around for very long. Let's see what she does. Oh, okay. Now you're just going to sit in my lap. Now you're not going to jump on the camera, now that I'm done.